And the Lord said, "Go out to the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house might be filled." The call is for real ministry. So to my fellow ministers, where you at? My people dying out on the streets, killing each other senselessly. Prisons are filled with family. So many babies, so little food to eat. Another mother grieves today, 'cause a baby boy, he was killed by a gangster's stray. Calling all preachers, teachers, and real ministers, where you at? The hungry, the empty, compel them to come in. Hit the highways and hedges, out from the four walls, y'all. Where you at? The broken, the distraught, compel them to come in. Hit the highways and hedges, highways and hedges, and let the healing begin.
Well, welcome to Let's Talk About It. What are you doing? I'm your host, Apostle Dr. SULYANS-GIBSON, up here in Big Sky Country, Yellowstone, from the Big Apple, New York City. Today we're going to interview our guest, and she's going to pronounce her name because I have issues with people not taking the time to pronounce mine correctly. So she's going to pronounce her name. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself before we go into this in-depth talk on some of the issues up here in Billings, Montana. When I was given this assignment from the East Coast to here, and I was like, oh Lord. But as I've gotten here since August and I've seen so much, just like, oh my God, I'm glad I came, because I'm here to make a difference in our community. This is now my community, and a lot of things just aren't acceptable.
So my name is Lita Pepion. That's been my name since birth. I am a member of the Blackfeet tribe, grew up on the Blackfeet reservation, probably up until 1980 when I left and kind of went all over the country, made a big circle, and ended up back here in Billings, Montana, about 20 years ago. I had lived here as a child years ago. That's kind of a funny story too, which I may tell in one of these episodes. But I was like 14. Somehow I got myself enrolled in school by myself. I don't know how. My sister doesn't know how. She was 18, just had a baby. She was supposed to go to college, but she slept all day. But I went to school here. Anyway, I also did some things to survive that people would call criminal, but to me it was survival things. I did steal from some cars, but it was to find money to buy food. So sorry if I stole your change. If I knew you, I'd pay it back. But we had to eat. And so let's see, what else about me? I am the senior organizer for Indian People's Action. Indian People's Action is a nonprofit social justice agency that's been in operation in Montana for about 20 years.
Wow.
Originally started with Janet Rubidoux, and then Michael and Hawk took the helm.
The mission of Indian People's Action is to work in urban areas to reach out and empower natives to address the social, economic, racial, and environmental inequalities that shape their lives. Did you know American Indians and the Montana justice system? In Montana, 1 out of every 14 people is American Indian. 1 out of every 6 people in Montana correction systems is an American Indian. 1 out of every 5 men in a Montana prison is an American Indian. 1 out of every 3 women in Montana prison is an American Indian. 1 out of every 3 people facing federal charges in Montana is an American Indian. Who profits from the Montana prison pipeline for American Indians?
So work with an amazing group of women who I just met, not too long ago, maybe a month or two. We call ourselves the Warrior Women for Justice. These are mothers of young men who have been killed by the police in Billings, Montana, who have decided that, you know, maybe our kids did something wrong, because kids do things wrong. Youth make stupid mistakes. I made so many, thank God. We're not living in this day and age, because if we were, I would have been locked up. In fact, I've been, but that's another story too.
I know the feeling. Been there, done that too. Thank you, Jesus.
So the group of warrior women, and I'm kind of trying to help organize them so that they can be more effective and help them get to know what they need to do to get things rolling, and just kind of be a mentor to them, because they're younger ladies, and most of them are. There's a couple of us old gals, and we're all basically mentoring each other.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and we all came from a place of great heartache, having been felt harmed by the criminal justice system and the justice system in Montana. And it was really hard, because there's a lot of victim shaming in this town. And so, you know, if we talked about our pain, they'd say, well, he shouldn't have been breaking the law. Well, yeah, we agree. They shouldn't have been breaking the law. Yes, we agree. They shouldn't do drugs and drink too much. But young people do that, and I would venture to guess many people in this town have done the same thing, just haven't been caught.
Absolutely.
So we were very heartbroken, and we were all alone. And somehow, through what I believe is a higher power, obviously, brought us together. I give Tashina Duran the credit. She's the sister of Coleman Stump, the last man that was shot by the Billings police. I give her the credit for bringing us together, because I had been reaching out to her, and my boss had been reaching out to her, offering her support after this happened. But she is the one who reached out to the other mothers and brought them together. And when we got together, there was something so powerful that we just, from that great heartache came great strength. And we decided that we needed to change this community, change the way we handle crimes and justice and corrections in Montana, because it's harming families. To me, it's like the new Indian boarding school.
Wow.
I mean, they were helping us back then when they put us in boarding schools, right? But they destroyed several generations of people. Well, now
Native American boarding schools, also known as Indian residential schools, were established in the United States during the early 19th and mid-20th century with a primary objective of civilizing or assimilating Native American children into Euro-American culture, while destroying and vilifying, speaking or writing about in abusively disparaging manner Native American culture. At the same time, a basic education in Euro-American subjects were provided.
Well, now I feel like the same thing's happening with justice. And I think that we don't need to wait 25, 50, 75, 100 years to change it. I think we can change it now, and the warrior women all agree with me that we can change it.
I love what you said about the warrior women. You came together, do the loss, but yet you gained each other, the love and the support.
Yep.
And that's what it's really about, love and support.
It is.
Like any mother, I don't care. We love our children, and yes, they're not angels, but they should not be lost the way so many of them are being lost now.
Yeah.
When our government people have no empathy,
Exactly.
this is the issue. And then they have the mindset, oh, this can't happen to mine. You never know when it can happen to yours.
Exactly.
And if everybody stays on one accord to love thy neighbor as thyself,
Exactly.
and let us try to solve this issue, we wouldn't have these issues here in Billings like they are. Because, like I said, I've been last couple of days doing deep dive into things, and I'm just blown away.
I've been here 20 years, and
Yeah,
I've been mad
so-
for 20 years. So.
And my
It's kind of-
history is from reentry and prison and homelessness and domestic violence and so many other things. But I wanted you to share with the listeners some of the things that you're trying to put in place now with the women warriors, since you came from a background of good training to become part of the women warriors.
Yeah, we've all came from a background of a lot of barriers and a lot of strife, and we've all overcome much to be where we're at. So some of the things, we've asked the city council for some changes that will cost no money, because the response seems to be when we ask government for change, they always say there's no money. But being nice to our neighbors doesn't cost a thing.
Absolutely.
Having a dialogue with our neighbors doesn't cost a thing. We need to start having community events out in the park where the police and the firemen and the city council are all out there, and we're laughing and we're having hot dogs and we're having drinks and we're playing horseshoes and doing that kind of thing. Because yes, there are some bad people in the world, but most of us are good.
Absolutely.
And even, you know, our issue is kind of with policing, but I want people to understand that we're not coming at any of this from a position of hate. We have been angry. I still get angry sometimes. I'm really trying to not come from that. We're all trying to come at this from love, for love for each other, because, you know, most of those people on the police force got into that profession because they wanted to help their community. They wanted to protect and serve. And we got to stop letting one bad apple ruin things, or, you know, a few bad apples ruin things for all of us. And I know that's how a lot of our laws came about even now, and maybe even our policing is we're always reactionary as far as our policing and our laws. Something happens and we run and make a law.
Wow.
We're human. And we forgot about that, and we've got hundreds of laws on the books, yet we don't treat each other like humans. We can't even we can't even talk to people. We can't even meet with people. We don't want to fight with anybody. We want to come to understanding. That's why we want to meet with you. We want to understand the other side, because I haven't been a police officer. I have a son who is, and he's told me his side. And sometimes he even gets upset with me and starts questioning me about the reform I'm asking for. So what are you going to do about this? And what are you going to do about that? And I come back at him and we banter back and forth. Because
see, that's dialogue. That's dialogue right there.
We don't claim to have all the answers. Neither one of us does. I haven't done what they're doing. And I know it's got to be a tough job. I know darn well it's got to be a tough job. But I also don't think we need to use such lethal means, especially against young people. I mean, for example, my son, who was 19 when he got in trouble, first he had a careless driving on his record. And then one night they were at a rave and they got in a fight with some kids. Him and his friends got in a fight with some other boys. And the story's kind of, you know, I really don't think I've ever got the whole thing, because it's different from other people, but apparently they took his Jeep and went and took a shot at those kids' house. And that was a bad, stupid, ugly, dumb thing to do. And they got caught. And totally okay with them having consequences for that, because that was stupid. But here's what happened next. He had been down to talk to the detectives several times. They called him, he went down there. They called him, he went down there. There was a lot of things that weren't done appropriately in the investigation. And I think the one thing that bothers me the most is that he was charged with assault with a weapon by accountability. But nobody was ever charged with the original assault with a weapon. So what is he accountable to? Who is what? I don't know, but that's just a technicality, and I'm kind of big on principle, so I really don't care. But what happened after is what really disturbs me, is that one morning, my husband and I are in my office, and it's, about 5 in the morning, and we're old, we get up early, we're looking out the window, and we see these people sneaking up the alley with semi-automatic weapons and bulletproof vests on. And they're coming to our house. That was freaking terrifying. I'm like, oh my God, are they coming to our house? What are they doing? And they were coming to our house. And I went running outside and I was like, that's not necessary. That's not necessary. Right. He every time they call, he comes down there, but they stormed our house. And luckily, they were reasonable that day and everything turned out okay. But had they come busting in my house, what could have happened? Who could have got killed? Me, my husband, my son?
Yeah.
And it was not necessary. Call us. We'll come.
There you go.
I'm a mother. You call me, my son does something stupid, you can guarantee that I will be there disciplining that boy and making sure that he's doing what he needs to do to make it right.
And see, this is the type of thing we want to really talk about in dialogue. And the thing is, the children have parents. Why you don't take the time to call the parents to bring them in? That way they're notified. So what if they flee? But this makes you as a police organization have a little empathy. If they're going to run, they're going to run. But why, like she says, the whole family? Because what if the child in the house would have moved wrong? You would have killed them?
Yeah, and his babies were there.
Yeah, see? This is what we're talking about, things like this.
They would have been traumatized had you guys all come storming in our house. You would have traumatized my kids, you traumatized me.
PTSD is real. It is definitely real. I like what you were saying about we need to have community events, because people of Billings need to know our police officer. It should be a point where we can walk down the street and not be in fear of a police officer and be able to say, hey, good day, how are you? And have a little interaction so that we can learn that he is a human being just like me. He just put on a uniform to protect me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Events should be park events where you bring something simple as hot dogs and hamburgers to jump around for the kids and come out and meet the community and tell them some of the things you want to do, because trust me, the community wants you there.
Yeah.
You know, and with this dialogue open, you can be able to network with the community, so if something's going on, they know they can call Officer so-and-so and it won't turn into a murder situation,
Yeah.
but people will be removed quietly and effectively. I've
You
noticed
can call
a lot.
us, we'll help.
Yeah, there you go.
We really will. And we want you to meet our sons too, because maybe they don't look like you, maybe they don't dress like you, but they're good people. And, you know, maybe they made a bad choice. Some of them might be struggling with the after effects of domestic violence, addiction,
Yeah.
whatever, because a lot of us, especially Native people, have been through some tough shit these last few years, you know, from being massacred in 1870 to then assimilating and then trying to be like everyone else. That's a big step, and we didn't get the same steps.
Well, listen, I know it's a big step because I don't know how to assimilate anyway. I'm just a
Me
child
neither.
of God. I
Same,
assimilate
same.
with Christ, and I'm here to be on one accord, to work with people, love people,
Same.
to encourage people, to help them to get the things that they need. Because yes, I've noticed there is a lot of homelessness here in this city.
Insane.
I've even had my
Insane.
outreach myself when I came here, my second week or third week here. I went in the community and I was so blessed. My video's on YouTube so you can see about it. I was blessed to meet them, talk with them, hear their stories that blew me away why they were out there. It's like the city, the church dropped the ball. Yeah, I'm Apostle Gibson and I'm here to send a shout out to the churches, because the outreach that needs to be done here, it's not happening. I don't see it. I don't see it. And when you look on my video on YouTube where you see it, outreach in Billings, you'll hear them tell me what they happened.
So then they arrested him. I think I left him in jail to pay his consequences that time. He got beat up while he was in jail. His head was twice its size.
Wow.
Nobody was ever charged. So after that, I bailed him out every time because he wasn't safe. I have given this city, or actually the bail bondsman, because these days, back when I was young, you posted bond, you showed up for court, you got it back. But nowadays they're setting bonds $50,000. Well, should I make that in a year? How am I going to pay you that? So I got to go over to a bail bondsman. Then that's his cost of doing business. We don't get anything back. We show up, we don't get anything back.
Wow.
So I have given this city in bail for my dangerous son, who's so not dangerous, and in fact has just started a nonprofit to try to fight back against what probation and parole is doing to people. The name of that nonprofit is RAMP. Oh, I can't remember what it stands for. Reform something probation and parole, because his parole officer was very vindictive and came and arrested. It was a big nightmare. It's been a big nightmare. The last 11 years involved with these oppressive systems has been the worst nightmare. I grew up in an alcoholic home. I grew up with domestic violence. I grew up on a tough reservation where you had to fight to survive. And this is the worst. And I think the reason is because people are calling it justice, and it's unjust.
It's calling it justice. I call it world of mental health issues.
Yeah.
We have.
And public safety. But my son's not really a threat.
But see, that's the rouge they put everything under, to try to sweep everything under the carpet, do the public safety.
I don't feel safe in this town.
Listen,
I'm terrified of the police.
I don't feel safe when they use that to cover up getting away from treating me like the human being I am. Because if you cut me, I'm going to bleed. I cut you, you're going to bleed.
Yeah.
There should be a dialogue to treat me as a human being. Because trust me, if a police officer rolls up on me and says, you throw your hands up, I'm going to be praise the Lord. You know, I'm not here to resist. I have no problem because I know I haven't done anything wrong. But your son, I'm going to bring him on so he can tell his story too. That's what it's about. So he can share his story, tell about his nonprofit.
He's a very intelligent human being, a very good man, and an excellent father. Every time we walk in that building, they call him dangerous. They got him on a violent offender list.
Wow.
They come at us with guns constantly. If he gets caught drinking alcohol, because then he did 3 years in prison. He was 19 when he went to prison. So prison's a tough place.
Yeah,
It's a tough place for a 19-year-old. Tough place for a 19-year-old. So he came out and he was depressed and he was angry and he was institutionalized and he started drinking. So then he's on parole, and every time he gets caught drinking, he goes to jail. And it's $50,000 to get him out. Yeah, every freaking time. Because he'd have to wear a bracelet, or sometimes he'd have to go take breathalyzers, and you have to pay for all that too. So if you got a bracelet, you're paying it like $50 a week. I don't know what it is. You're paying probation and parole a certain amount every week to supervise you. You're paying for that breathalyzer. You're paying for court fees. You're paying restitution. These are kids, for God's sake. What do you think they make, and how are they supposed to start a life and pay all that stuff? He pays probably $300 a month to be supervised here in town, and he's been doing that for the last 6-7 years, I think, since he got out of prison.
Wow.
So every time he blows hot, he goes to jail. Bail's $50,000. Now I got to bail him out so he don't get beat up, because nobody will get charged in there if they beat him up. So this has gone on for 6-7 years now. I've spent probably $30,000 to $40,000 on bail. My retirement.
What a nightmare.
I'm telling you, it's a crock. It's not justice. It's a crock.
Did you know that you have to pay supervision fee under parole and probation? It's required to pay a fee of $120 to $360 a year based on your status or court order. Can you imagine that? You out and you still gotta pay, but yet you don't have a job. And if you don't pay these fines, you're in violation and you'll be thrown back into the jail.
Our goal is to do policy reform, and it starts at the legislature. And what I'm here to also say is all these church leaders, you have a congregation that has the greatest power besides the power of prayer, voting. You need to start tapping into some of your legislators. You know, as children of God, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be out here on the highways and the byways serving the lost and providing a place to compel them to come in. But this constantly out of sight, out of mind, I'm not feeling this. This angers me. So if this angers me, this apostle, I can't even fathom how God feels about it. I know how he feels about it because he sent me from New York to here. So you know how I'm feeling about this whole thing. But it needs to be done. It needs to be done. And I'm very surprised. This is the biggest city in the state. I can't even fathom what's going on in other little ones.
Oh gosh, yes, especially in Cascade County is pretty iffy. I'm very concerned about justice there. And Glacier County. Most reservation towns are concerned, but the good thing is that we're starting to come back. We're running for office. Glacier County now has a very high percentage of Native political leaders, whereas back when I was growing up, we didn't have anybody. We didn't even pay attention to politics. We didn't want to. We thought those people were crazy out there doing all that stuff. We're like, I remember my mom and stepdad, they'd read the paper and they're like, they're doing this, and they'd crack up laughing. And I was thinking, why are they doing that? That's insane. Because I didn't really get political savvy until, over these last 20 years. I didn't know what the legislature was. I didn't know how to propose a bill. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I didn't know how to stand up for myself, but I do now.
Finding your voice is very important in this day and time.
Yep.
Because we have rights, even though people want to constantly tell us we don't.
Yeah, and that we're bad and that we're criminal. I don't think that anybody should go from, especially a teenager, should go from having a misdemeanor driving charge on the record to a violent offenders list just like that, with no discussion, no anything. All of a sudden he's on it. We got police coming at us like that. And the thing is with prison, maybe he got punished being in that hellhole because it was a hellhole. But that was very expensive as well. Phone calls home, raising his child while he's locked up, making sure his baby mama has what she needs because he can't, sending him money. And then the prison in their report will talk all. They're so nice that they let people work in the kitchen and pay them 25 cents an hour.
Yeah,
so they can send money home to their family. What do they think people live on 25 cents an hour going to send money home to the family?
Legalized slavery.
That's exactly what it is, and that's infuriating. And I just listened to Montana DOC talk about that crap at the legislature at the Law and Justice Committee meeting, and I was like, oh, hell no, what 25 cents? You're going to make that sound good? They can send money home, 25 cents an hour? You have them running your facilities at no charge. That's what you have going on.
Exactly. They even have a lot of companies behind the walls that are having them produce products.
My question is, with Montana Correctional Enterprise, with $18.8 million in funding, which is self-supporting, $1.7 million covers education and vocational programs. My question is, why aren't more people employed coming out of prison? Here are some of their products, from furniture to print and sign, textiles, motor vehicle, and the hobby shop. Take a look at their website.
We're failing our kids and we're failing our grandkids, and that's why I fight so hard, because I don't want to leave them that shit. I don't want to leave it for them. It's not acceptable. The prison industrial complex is huge, and people, and who knows how many judges and prosecutors as well, are highly invested in that and making huge profits off of the poorest people in our communities. And this city to me, is famous for doing that. If you think about alternatives, and everybody thinks alternatives is offering people alternatives, but they're not. They're oppressing people, and they're taking money from the poorest people in this city. DOC says they help people when they get out. I worked with people in that system for 6 years, and out of the hundreds that applied, I saw them help one person. And so they don't help people. These people are making minimum wage. They want them to go out, get a job, do this, walk to work in the middle of the night in below zero weather, whatever, and they don't help them. They won't give them a ride. They got 20 vans sitting out there, but they won't give them a ride. They say they don't have enough staff. I looked at their form. I think it's the form 990. They make over $1.5 million off of our poorest citizens every freaking year. Oppressing our poorest citizens every year.
I know on the recent Zoom conference we was on, I asked the question, because like I said, I'm about reentry and everything, and I had asked the question, what marketable skills do the people have inside that they can come outside and get a job other than cooking?
They can train dogs at the women's prison. Oh, not anymore, but they used to.
But that's still not going to give you the marketable skills you need, because right there,
exactly.
there should be computer training behind the wall. Because when they come out, and listen, not everybody got life, and they should be able to come out and adapt. I also was I looked at a few of the alternative incarceration. I seen the same thing. When they come out, all you have is cooking jobs. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing what the work that has to be done here, and it all comes down to changing the laws. And the only way we can do that is the community has to come together to work together.
Yes,
you have the greatest power, that vote.
Yes, we
You know what I mean?
Because there are employers in this town who hire felons, because very few people will hire felons, no matter how good they are and how much they've changed or whatever. So there are some, I'm not saying all, there are some good businesses, but there are a few who will hire felons and then threaten to call the P officer if they don't do all the dirty work, and have been known to call the P officer or the pre-release and tattle on them and get them in trouble. So they have to work more hours or do whatever. It's slavery out here too, man, but it's just minimum wage. It's not a quarter an hour, but it's $8 an hour.
So these same companies that hire formerly incarcerated, are they taking advantage of the 10% tax right off that the state gives them?
I don't know if they...
Okay. See, me, I'm about following the money. They making money when they arrest you. They make money when they take you to court. They make money when they transport you. They make money when they transport you upstate. They make money to house you in a state prison. I saw at $42,000 a year. They make money for the guard. It's follow the money. That's what the American way is all about. But we need to be able to do better with the taxpayers' money.
We do.
My people dying out on the streets. My people dying out on the streets. My people dying. My people dying. My people dying out on the streets. My people dying out on the streets. My people dying. My people are dying. My people are dying. My people dying. My people dying. My people